Yes, guys, welcome back to the Once You're In podcast. This is weird. It's like a trip down memory lane. We're back on Zoom. And the reason we're back on Zoom is because Reese was saying that we ought to do like show reviews and we want to get them out a little bit quicker. So obviously if we do them at the studio, I have to travel over to the studio, which is like 40 minutes-ish from where I live. And then we have
About
to
40
send
minutes. Everything. It's the
huh?
40-minute delay. We don't
Yeah,
want to, we don't have time for that.
no, that 40 minutes is too long. No, but then obviously we've got to then send it over to Sam, then Sam edits it, and then by the time like it's come out, it might be a couple of weeks later. And by that point, there's another show that's we've actually got an episode where we spoke about the Arnolds Ohio, and that's not even come out yet. And that was over
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So part of it is that we're going to start like saying to Sam, we want the turnaround time to be quicker, which it will be anyway. That's just because we've got a backlog. But also part of it is like we throughout this year, and this is something that we wanted to do even last season, but it was obviously difficult because of my prep. We want to bring like reviews out after every show, whether it be a pro show, whether it be an amateur show, shows that we've got clients in, shows that we've been at, shows that we're going to be competing in maybe in the future, and like bring you guys reviews as quickly as we can, going through what our thoughts were, what the results were, our opinions on the competitors, peaking, their coaches,
Yeah.
etc., and just have a chat about it. So, first things first, mate. We were obviously at the expo on the Saturday. Classic was on the Friday, so we'll do it in like chronological order. But we'll come on to the results. First of all, we're just going to chat about the expo. So, what were your thoughts on the Arnold UK Expo?
Um, I feel old nowadays, like it was a cool event and it's good to see bodybuilding become extremely popular and a bit mainstream. But when I was walking around, like it was really nice, like the people we spoke to, clients that were there, people that came up and said hi, like it was really cool. But at the same time, the standard of influencer now, like I said to you, like fucking hell, God, this is like a little like I don't want to look upon people and have that level of like not like resentment or hate, but it's like just going to a gym, bro. Like just it doesn't need to be as serious or I don't know. I mean, maybe we're just old and bitter at this point because I know you share similar sort of thoughts. Like we literally walked around, we got there late. Like I have no idea, and I genuinely don't understand. If you are not on a booth, why are you getting there in the morning and just
We
spending the whole
weren't
day
bothered,
there?
were we? Like it was
No,
it was what, like after 3 by the time we'd even got there, and I don't think any of us were like, "Oh, come on, we need to get there." We were just like, "Yeah, we'll go,"
yeah,
and then as
we
long
were
as we're
just
there
like,
for when the show starts, as long as we're there. Sorry, I'm just putting my ring light on because I
yeah,
feel like my lighting looks weird. As long as we're there, then yeah, it's sound. But yeah, it was a bit. Well, we said the same thing last year. We said, we thought it was a little bit over the top. And again, like I don't think I think the expo itself for like people who are getting into fitness, it's probably amazing. Like when I first went
yeah.
to Body Power, it was incredible because like Steve Cook was there, and well, actually, he wasn't. There was like a Gymshark event that was like 5 minutes away, so I went after. But like Rob Lipsett was there, and I was like, oh my god, like I watch him on YouTube, and like that's what it is now. But for us, we don't really have that as much because we're a bit older. Like that's
But
it.
then also, and Steve Cook and that, I feel like they were actually like normal dudes, and you could just like pay, like you could almost invest in them, and it's a good it's a good
Yeah.
person to follow. If let's say, for example, I had a client who was 16 and it was like my inspiration's the Trend Twins, I'd be like, fucking hell,
Mate,
like it's a bit embarrassing,
I'd
like,
never even heard
you
of them
know?
until this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's cool to see, like for example, Sam Sulek, so we can get him put him in the title. Our opinions on Sam Sulek, more
Yeah.
views. Yeah, it's cool to see because he's, I think, just a genuine dude who it's his content's like. Again, I've not watched enough, but I like if everyone was like him, wicked. But I think
It'd
there's
be
a
a bit
lot of
boring,
it
mate.
now
If
where
everyone was the exact same,
it
it'd
would
be
be.
boring.
Yeah, no, but of course it'd be boring. But I mean, it's a bit more genuine than you've got guys who they don't look that good. Like I'm not saying the Trend Twins, but they are people that I am talking about. Like they don't look amazing. They don't compete. it's a glorification of potential PDs just being a bit of a fucking, just a bit of an idiot in the gym. And it's not like the right sort of content that I think people should be investing in at early stages, which unfortunately, when you go to these expos, it's flashy, bright lights. This is what you should pay attention to. And all the stands that had the longest queues were for the people that weren't the actual people you, in a sense, should go for when it comes to actually bodybuilding, which
People that
again
I'd
is
never
probably
even
us
heard of.
slightly. Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. It's expected. Like if you were to say to me who's going to be more popular, Kevin Lavrone or some young LA sponsored athlete or Gymshark sponsored athlete. I know Gymshark weren't there, but let's say if they were, that has 2-3 million followers. Of course, it's going to be the latter. But I just look at the former and I just think like you go into a bodybuilding event, like in my eyes, it's bodybuilding, it's physique development. You'd want to go like Phil Heath, go
Yeah,
to
but
him. You know, I like the fact that there's
it's not a bodybuilding event, is it? Like it's
no
a sports event. Like
fitness.
with
Well,
fucking
yeah,
there
sports
were
festival.
knights fighting. There was jousting going on. It's not just bodybuilding.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's. I think obviously for people who didn't go, like if you're thinking, oh, I'd love to go and make your own mind up. Like don't base your judgment off what we're saying because you might love it and great. And I think a lot of people did enjoy it, but also like most people I've spoken to have said the same thing. They've been like, yeah, like the expo was all right. It was just a bit busy, a bit loud. Like, yeah, it's cool to see quite a few people, but like it was a bit naff. Like I think again, if you're there for people like Phil Heath, Dorian, like Kevin Lavroni, like amazing. Like you get to go and see them, and it's not even that hard to see them because like most of the time they've not got massive queues or they're walking around. Like that's cool. But
walking around. Ronnie Coleman, he wasn't
yeah,
walking
Ronnie
around
wasn't
though.
walking around, was he? Well, actually, he was walking around on the stage. Had he was stealing
Yeah,
his crutches,
but
bless him. But yeah,
yeah,
like
Ronnie like 160 beats per minute heart rate, being like, I'm gonna fall.
he was struggling, wasn't he? But yeah, it was sound. Like it's nice to see people. Thank you for anybody who did say hello and said that they were a fan of the podcast. That was cool. Um,
Yeah.
all three people.
Especially the young lad that was like to me, Reese, I love the podcast. I'm such a big fan of the podcast. I love what you do with the podcast. Finn's behind him, and Finn's like, I'm on the podcast as well. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Sam. And then to be fair, he was like, "What did he say? I fucking love reels." And I was like, "That's my joke." Like,
Yeah,
why are you saying it to Reese as if it was Reese's joke? This is all me. Like,
yeah,
give me the credit. I'm stood right here. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize." Because he just looked like another small natty, like everybody that was there. To be fair, that
yeah.
I was thinking that. Like, obviously AJ was there when we saw him at the end. I wonder if he'd ever do
Mm.
like a stand, like an MBW stand. But then I was thinking,
Yeah,
like, is it the same kind of vibe? Because like there were quite a few natties there, obviously, but it's not really that kind of vibe, is
yeah.
it? Like I feel like
No,
it'd be good because of
it's
him
flashy.
and the brand,
Yeah,
people would go, but it probably wouldn't
yeah,
be the best maybe of investments because most people there, if they were to not know MBW, they'd be like, "What's that?" And then they'd find out and they go, "Oh." Whereas like people who already know it would be like, "Oh, I know what that is. It doesn't need to be here."
yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like the average person on the stand are usually good looking and they're into fitness and they look really good. And that's not to say that the AJ doesn't look good, but it's a different sort of vibe. So I couldn't imagine. But then also it would be pretty cool. And like it's the same like all in bodybuilding. So if we're Dan, like that's cool to see that like something like that is there. And there's some stands that you're like, oh, that's cool. And then there's other stands that are just like, what the fuck are
yeah,
they doing?
some weird ones. Yeah, there was some weird ones. Right, but let's get into the show.
Especially
So, huh?
Nature's Trust that was just like
Yeah,
Nature's Trust, the anti-suicidal cancer patients with nobody there, and it's like,
yeah.
cheers.
There's a few that
I
were
could
just
be suicidal.
empty stands. So
Yes.
let's go through like the shows. Obviously, Friday we were just there for the Saturday, so we went to the expo on the Saturday, then we went to the show on the Saturday night. So Friday morning was
Yep.
the prejudging for Classic. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just get up. I've actually got Bodybuilders Without Borders Instagram up, so shout out to them. So this was Classic. So the first call out or the top four was Urs. Are they tagged on here? I don't think they're tagged. Urs, Brion, Wesley, and Michael DeBoul. Obviously, again, we weren't there, but based on what you've seen, what do you reckon?
Well, Michael, I'm pretty sure he won the Arnold's Classic in like the classic lineup, obviously in 2022. He beat Wesley, and then in Ohio a few weeks back, Wesley won, and Brion. I think a lot of people were saying Brion could have done better, and if I'm not mistaken, it actually finished where Wesley won, Brion got second, Urs third, Michael fourth, which I actually agree with to somewhat of an extent. But I also thought Urs was massively improved from his previous package. He was hitting his front double bicep slightly differently. He wasn't having this weird twist that he's always done that's always made his legs look a little bit lesser sized. And I was happy with Wesley winning. I like Brion. I like all of the looks. I'm not a massive fan of Michael, just based off. I don't think he's that classic. I just think he's incredibly shaped for bodybuilding, but he's also in wicked condition, and that bodes well. But I don't think he's got the same, like if you look at him in a front double bicep, where that kind of, let's say, screen recording was originally, like here, you kind of see flaws where, like, for example, you look at Urs, really classic, Brion, legs
His
a little bit
arms
downsized in
just,
comparison to
yeah,
previous,
his arms
but
aren't the same.
yeah, he just doesn't look to me like, yeah. And I think your eyes are drawn to Wesley, even though
I don't.
objectively he's got the biggest waist out.
Yeah,
I personally look at Wesley.
my eyes were drawn to Brion, but I think that's because like he's improved because he'd improved more, and I think his posing's the
Yeah,
best. I think he's got the
yeah,
best like flow. And with Wesley, like don't get me wrong, he looks mint, but like I also just think he wasn't as lean as Urs. He wasn't as classic, or he isn't, in my opinion, as classic as Brion. But he's
yeah,
like, let's say, he's the closest to Arnold. You know what I mean? Like he looks like Arnold,
yeah,
like from back in the day. Like he'd be, for let's say, if this was like 30, what 40 years ago, what was it? Yeah, like 30, 40 years ago, let's say. Maybe well longer than that when he started,
mm,
50 years ago, however old he is. Wesley would be like the guy. You know what I mean? He's like, Jesus Christ, that guy's like huge. He
yeah.
looks incredible. He's got like, a massive chest. He's got nice wide shoulders. But like now, like I think he's decent, but he's improved a lot from what like last year and previous years. But I still don't think he's as good as everyone's making out. I don't think he's all of a sudden ridiculously good.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but then I think at the same time, he's probably like objectively again the closest to Sebum with what they're looking for, and his legs have improved a fair bit. I still think they need to be bigger, and like in a lot of poses, he's very dominant because he's a big dude. Like he's tall, he's taller than Sebum. He's got I think 2 inches on him, and like he would be the heaviest guy on stage. And I think they're probably more so like it's a weird one because obviously classic they're always going to go for shape. And Wesley has the worst shape out of all of these for
Yeah, like
classic.
exactly like
But I think
there.
there's certain key points that kind of just give him,
I'll pause
yeah,
it as we go. Like in my opinion, I would say Brion looks the most classic. I would say, like you say,
mm,
Michael almost like I'd almost disregard him. That sounds horrible because he's obviously a very good bodybuilder, but he's
yeah,
not at that level of those three, in my opinion, at the minute. But like, even like, I just think like Wesley's legs, they don't look great. Like, he's got like a ridiculously wide rib cage, and like, he is very, very classic in that sense. But I think, I don't know, like, I just think when it comes to posing, like, especially Brion, like, I look at him and I think he's way more classic. And just being tall
mm,
and being a bigger guy shouldn't really mean that you win. You know what I mean? It's like in bodybuilding, just being small and being more compact
yeah,
shouldn't really mean that you win, but it does because it structure like carries you massively, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. I think it's a tricky one, but I think I don't think after the higher result, but it was good to see Brion get better, get better, and obviously Dino Ramon. I think he's put. I know he wasn't going to do the show anyway.
Yeah, he's doing the
So going into
Brazil.
the, it'll be quite exciting going into the Olympia. But if I'm honest, I don't think Wes will hold a candle to Sebum. I think it will
No,
still be
I
like
like
I don't. I find it sad that people instantly compare him to Sebum because worse in every single aspect, which every single person who competes in classic is worse than Sebum. You'd have to get a massively, massively like worse than Sebum for anybody to even get close to him, really. Which is not really a surprise. Like it's not really a surprise at this point. But it's good to
you
see when it comes to Wesley doing well.
see like even here like his lower body is
Yeah.
weak compared to these guys. Um,
Mm,
do you think Urs should go into open?
no, I don't think so. Do you? Is
I
that is it because whenever he goes into an off season, he gets pretty heavy, or he has got heavy and got big.
no.
and then people say, "Oh, you need to go in." Like his arms are way too small for open. They're small for classic. I think shape wise, he's good in classic, but I don't think would truly be elite. But then also at the same time, he'd have to take like 2 or 3 years off. And the guy likes competing. The guy likes to be a bodybuilder. I don't think it would be a case where he'd go into open personally. But if he would, it'd be quite exciting, it'd be cool to
I
see. But
think it wouldn't
I don't
surprise
think
me if
the
in like
transition.
he's quite young, isn't he? How
Yeah,
old is he?
yeah, I think it's 27,
Yeah, it
27,
wouldn't it
28.
wouldn't surprise me when he's in his 30s if he was in open.
Yeah. But then I also think 30s is like a good couple of years away, obviously, when it comes to not only
Yeah, I'm not
competitive
saying he
years, but
should do it. I'm not saying he should do it now, but I think his ceiling in classic isn't the same as someone like Wesley or even quite a few other people. Like
yeah.
I think yeah, he's got decent shape for it, but like even like watching this, I think he just looks like a smaller bodybuilder, and I think the other guys look
Mm,
more classic.
yeah. That'll be interesting to see. So yeah, we would want to move on to men's physique because that was the first call out. That's from prejudging. Finals, not really a lot changed. That was still the top four. And then Wesley took it home. Into men's physique. So we saw men's physique finals, and already it was pretty much people were hyping up. It was going to be Corey Morris and then Diogo, not Diogo Jota, Diogo I think it's Montenegro or Monte.
In
Is it Mon? Yeah, it is.
I liked Vitor, the guy that ended up coming third.
Mm.
So this is Corey Morris for people watching. This is Vitor, and then this is Diogo.
Yeah. So Corey Morris won. He finished fifth, I think, at Ohio, and he didn't make the first call out. And a lot of people were saying because he basically was the only one, they didn't call out anybody in the first call out for that didn't have the appropriate shorts. So they've done a new rule, men's physique, that you need the shorts a little bit higher, you need to show a bit of quad. And Corey's legs are pretty downsized because of just how he's shaped, and obviously he hasn't been prioritizing them. He's a men's physique athlete. So that's the reason why he got fifth. He changed his shorts. I think shape wise, he's beautiful. I mean, you can't really beat him from the back. He looked really good. I
Yeah.
saw a video that was comparing Diogo and his short position from where he had him on his waist, and he had him a little bit too high, and it made just his V taper from the front. I don't think looked at his usual sort of trademark, sort of like, let's say, silhouette. And then you got Corey, who, even though he doesn't hit a front shot properly, like Finn was saying, he was saying in the show, he's like, he's not even hitting a front shot, he's hitting a side shot.
This is
But
his front shot.
yeah, and
Like
it's very
he's
side on. Like,
yeah, his hips are directly side on. You know who would hate that? Lee Kemp.
yeah.
Yeah, Lee Kemp would be all over that. He'd be fuming.
And then yeah, let's have a chat about Vitor because I know you said you liked him, and I think he's a really good
Yeah,
balance.
I
I
think
think he's
Vitor's
really good.
almost like so Vitor here. I think how I've paused it, he doesn't look as good as Diogo, but like at the actual show, those two were very comparable. Like they were very close. And in
Yeah,
my opinion, they look very similar. Their physique was very, very similar. Like it could have been either way, second for either of those. Like, but
yeah,
if let's say like when Vitor got called out third, it was like right, Corey's won. You know what I mean? Because you
yeah.
just knew there was no chance that Corey would be second and then Diogo would win because these two were way
They're
more
too similar.
comparable. Yeah, it just made no sense. But like Corey deserved to win, I think he looks great. Like and like you say, like for the more modern criteria, he is better. Whereas these guys are more like older school men's physique. But then also, if you look at Ryan Terry, these are much more comparable to Ryan Terry, who's just won the Olympia. Ryan Terry wouldn't
Yeah,
really compare to Corey. You know what I mean? Corey compares to the like Ebanks and that.
Ebanks. Yeah,
Ebanks.
but I think like it's good to see. I like Corey. I think he's got ridiculous potential. Like when he came onto the scene, and it's not been that long, but in the last like 18 months, I remember looking at him thinking, Jesus, like he's gonna be very good, and he seems to be getting better and better. So if he was to like, I say bring up his arms, it's just his delts are stupid. It's like a case probably just coming in really full, coming in full. His back's a
His
joke.
back
Like
is ridiculous.
realistically, I don't think he. Yeah,
Yeah, the
his back's
reason his
stupid. His
back,
back's like probably some of the best back. It's just his taper. Like his waist
yeah,
is
I was
not
gonna say the
existing.
reason his
And
back
then,
does look so good is because his waist is so small, but then also his back's just very good. Like
yeah,
this waist pretty small, but like look at the difference. What I would say as
yeah.
well is the standard from like the top three versus the rest was ridiculous.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
the
The
top
the
three
guys that
were
were on
great,
the edges.
fourth, fifth, sixth. It
Yeah,
was like, how are they even here? Like that sounds horrible. They're obviously very good in their own right, and if you compared them without those top three, you'd be like, oh, they're good. But when you compare them to that standard, it was like how are they even IFBB pros?
Yeah, they didn't look like pros in
Nah,
comparison.
and even
Obviously,
like
if you would see them,
the posing wasn't great as
yeah,
well. Like, yeah, it was weird. Like the golfing class, that was the biggest, like in all the classes that I saw. To be fair, that being said, just while we're talking
there's
about classic, so the second call out for classic, obviously this is the one that Josh Easton was in. So there's the guy that
yeah.
trains at Physique. Um, I think he won his pro card like last year or 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know where he placed. Did he place sixth or seventh? I'm sure that guy came.
Uh,
So that guy, I'm sure, was fifth, and I don't
yeah,
know whether Josh came sixth or seventh. But even like these guys, like obviously again, the golfing class from these three against the other four in classic is mental, and like Josh looks ridiculously good. It's like it's scary the standard,
yeah, yeah.
like
You realize,
ridiculous.
like, yeah, it's stupid. The difference between like a top pro and a bottom pro, like the gap is massive. It's
Yeah.
almost it's bigger than the amateurs. Obviously, if you get a beginner, right, like let's say fresh out, like the gate beginner is going to be different. But like you get an average amateur to a really good amateur. Okay, you get an average pro to a really really good like Olympian. There's a difference, a different ballpark entirely. So yeah,
This is
that's
the
that. But overall, I
comparison.
think Corey winning. Yeah,
Yeah, so this
I
is
think
first
Corey
and
winning
second.
like, yeah.
But again, like
So yeah, and I think that comment. The pivot wolf. Just watch Corey Morris or win Mr. Olympia sooner. He's the most consistent MC guy I know. And to be fair, I don't think that's a bad shout. Like he's shaped so well. So it wouldn't surprise me in a year or two, like this year, next year, if he's up there.
he does look very good.
Yeah. He's the epitome of
Got
men's
like,
physique, like for
yeah, he's just
like
got like if
Terry.
you
Like,
look at his midsection in comparison, like
yeah.
that is that again, I know he's hitting it a lot more side on, but still like that's ridiculous how small his waist is. Like even there, like even that side on for him, and look how blocky he is. He's not even in a pose, he's just transitioning. And his waist
Yeah.
is still tiny. Like it makes you think though, doesn't it? Like obviously when you look at like the open bodybuilders and like when it comes to PEDs and like the long term effects, especially like pushing weight up in an off season and getting heavier and like their waist getting thicker, like that also does happen with men's physique guys. Like you can see it here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
whereas he's not got that because is he quite? He must be. He's quite young, yeah.
I don't know how old he is, but I know he's not been in the game for too long.
No,
Like,
I'm
so
sure he'd be like mid late 20s. I don't think he's old, although he's got quite an older
yeah.
looking face, so he could be.
Yeah. Yeah, and his hairline's a bit questionable, bro. So maybe
Yeah,
he's like, he's getting there. Like
45.
from that photo there, yeah, he's 35 plus. You
Right.
never know. So, right now, what everyone's here for, we are sorry for the people who just get on to open because you want to hear two amateurs who are combined weight of about 400 pounds and 300 of them are mine. Talk about open bodybuilding at the pro level. So, fantastic introduction. Finn, take us away. What was your opinions on
Doesn't
we'll go
matter.
first call out. Do you want to go 1 to 7?
Doesn't matter my opinion, mate. I've got a medal here. So like I'm a bodybuilder. Like you talk, I'll just listen.
Okay, I would say I'm pretty sure you won that out of buying like 5 boxes of cereal in a row or whatever,
Nah,
and then sending
I
away
won
your
it
stickers.
because I won it by default because a guy cheated. Right.
Okay, fair.
Where's the so that was third and fourth. I don't think there's a well, there wasn't really a call out because it was just like the top two, the third and the fourth.
Yeah,
So we haven't really got like a proper call out. But anyway, so on what Friday night there was prejudging. Based on
yeah,
prejudging, it looked like it was going to be Hadi Samson top two, Hadi winning Samson second, and then I think third was John. So John De La Rosa, which is this guy here.
yeah.
And then it was like between James Hollingshead and Akeem in fifth. And then you had who else was there?
James actually made
Antoine.
first call out.
Huh?
James made first call out
Yeah, he
in
was
the pre-judge.
fourth, wasn't he? Yeah. But then you had Antoine and Mo Shaban. They were the other two. So it ended up finishing. I think have they got like the scorecards on here? But anyway, Antoine finished seventh, which was sad because he didn't even get asked to come out in the last six. So that was sad because he was the only one. Mo Shaban finished sixth. Then James ended up in fifth. I think this is James, isn't it? Yeah. So James ended up in fifth. So what did you reckon to James?
I really like James. I think he's a good dude. I think like the muscle he carries is ridiculous. But then, like we both were saying, like his midsection, he didn't look his best. Like I've seen James look better. I think everyone's seen James look better. Like when he could hide his midsection, like from the side, I thought his arms were so full. Like probably some of the fullest arms I think I've ever seen like on stage, and it was really cool to see. But like I think from the front, like his front lat spread, even his front double, like he just didn't look as crisp. And like James is always someone who's known for conditioning. And I remember we watched him in 2022, and like I think he's improved in some aspects more so, like let's say fullness and muscle mass. But I also think he could have been a fair bit sharper, or if anything, he could be a fair bit less full, and he would have probably looked better. Like
Yeah.
I almost think there's a certain point where like that fullness isn't actually helping, and it's cool for some screenshots and like some photos you see him and you're like, wow. Like I saw him, he posted a photo of a side try versus him and John, who actually beat him by one place, and he looks better than John by a massive, massive margin, but that's because he's in the pose. The second he was out of a pose, you were like, yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
look as good as he
Like
could be.
John was pretty crisp, like even just walking. You know what I mean? Like even his glutes, like just walking on the stage. Whereas like with James, he looked like he needed a bit more time because he was so full. Like if he had maybe more time to like wash off a little bit of that fluid, he'd probably like let's say
Yeah.
the show was Sunday and he didn't really do like he didn't really move or eat too much from here. Like I think like again midsection that he just didn't look his best.
Did you
Still
see
great,
what?
like he's
Did you see?
ridiculous. Look at him, but huh?
Did you see what he said about his plan for the show? He was going to do like a spill and then wash off protocol.
Yeah,
So he put on Monday that he's going to like build his food up and then spill Thursday and then go into obviously Friday and Saturday and try and wash it off. And like looking back, especially after how full he was a few weeks back as well, and like how frequently he was having like I'm not going to say I'd know better than him, but how frequently he was having off-plan meals and high days. Like I look at that and think like, did he really need to probably have 3 or 4 days of loading? Again, I don't know exactly what the plan was, but by the judging of what he put on Instagram, he probably could have had a high day on Monday or Tuesday, and then he would have
and
probably
then
just
just
trickled down slowly. He didn't need to move. He's already got the condition, and he probably would have been absolutely sound. But instead, he had the Ohio show where he was killing himself training with Branch, which I completely. He's a bodybuilder. Who
yeah,
wouldn't
it's
want to
fun.
do that a few days out? And then come into this show, and he's probably like et up, looking better and better, and then he's probably just not had that time to really get things
Like you
like
look at
crisp
that
because he just
detail.
looks like he's missed it. He just looked like he missed out. Yeah, he just looked like he missed out by like again not an hour or more so like a day or two, and that's
Yeah,
again
a day.
frustrating. But you know,
I think a day of having more time to just like wash off a little bit and trickle down a little bit, it would have been good. Because, like I say, he was burstingly full. Like he contracted his tricep, and we were both like,
yeah,
"There's no detail there because he's that full." Like it was mental. I also think, like we said before, with James, like
yeah,
because of his structure, like he's it's going to be very hard for him to stand next to somebody like, let's say, Samson or even Haddy, because he's just not got that same X frame kind of structure. Like he's got quite narrow for a big, massive bodybuilder. James has got like a narrow clavicle. When you compare him to someone like Samson or Andrew
yeah.
Jacked or even Haddy, who Haddy's short, but he's still got like a ridiculous X frame. It's always going to be difficult for James. Like you can't change your like skeletal structure.
Genetic makeup.
Like, look at that. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm just saying. That X frame. Like, this was ridiculous, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
as soon as he
yeah.
came out, like,
We'll
obviously
skip ahead. So
we didn't have a
Paddy
great view.
and yeah,
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 go on.
we'll skip ahead. So Haddy and Samson, 1 and 2, absolute ridiculous. Like ridiculous, like the levels between like both of them in comparison. Haddy's the best bodybuilder. I think we both said it, didn't we? The best bodybuilder we've ever watched on stage, like with our own eyes. And like he was just like a walking ball of muscle, like but a stupidly well shaped walking ball of muscle. I almost didn't expect him to be as shaped as like when you see him in person, he just flows really well and he puts on a show. He's confident with his posing. He like bounces around the stage. He's so energetic,
Jumps
and
around,
you
doesn't
like
it?
you. Yeah, it's just like he walks out and he's just bouncing around. It's like this guy, like you can see he likes it, and he's just a bodybuilder. Like when you look at him, how he trains, how he is. Like, you can just imagine he's someone who's just absolutely perfect. And then you match that with Hani doing like his probably magical sort of protocols, and then also at the same time just the genetic makeup of an absolute alien. Like, probably again, I feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but like I feel like the Arnold look from Ohio was a little bit better, and that's genuinely, in my opinion, like probably a top 5 bodybuilding look I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah, I think he'd have won the Olympia
I
with
think that would be
the Arnold's Ohio look.
99. Yeah. Oh, I think he would have. I would have won the Olympia. I think he would have won the vast majority. I think there's probably only 2 or 3 bodybuilders in the past that you could say would potentially have beat him, which is wild to say. So yeah, had he won, which I think it was a lot closer. I thought we were going through when they did their first comparisons, and me and Finn were like 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, etc.
It was
And
he
we had
ran
Hadi
away with
winning
it.
the vast majority. Yeah, but Samson was really good, and it was the best I've seen Samson. Again, it was the only time I've actually seen Samson in person on stage, but it was the best I've seen the comparisons between them. And I think social media kind of agreed. Like, social media was like, right, Haddy's won, but also it was a good
Yeah,
battle
I
between them. It
think for
wasn't just like a
for
huge
the
back
narrative,
where it was Haddy.
I was gonna say like for the narrative and for social media, like people were making out it was closer than it actually was. Like going, oh, like you never know, but like you did know, like you knew that it was going to be a case of Harry was going to win, Samson was going to be second. It was going to be closer because Samson was a bit better and Harry was a bit worse based on traveling, which makes sense. Samson's probably not going to look his best when he's had to travel to Ohio. Harry's probably not going to look his best when he's had to travel to Birmingham. Like it makes sense, but Harry was always going to win. Like, unless Harry was awful, just turned up like way off, and Samson was like his absolute best, it was always going to be Harry. But like the scorecard in Ohio was what basically Harry got 5, which means every judge classed him as first. Samson got 10, so every judge classed him as second. But then here it was Harry got 6, so one judge classed him as second, everyone else in first, and then Samson got what 18, something like that. So like yeah. Well, he got 9, so 9 and then 18 in total. So basically, it was in Ohio there was a difference of 10 points, and here there was a difference of 6, I think it was, or was it 8? But yeah, it was closer. It was closer than 2 weeks ago, but it was still like even when you knew like when they were going to announce it, like I didn't question at all. Like, I wonder if it could be. It was like it's not going to be.
Yeah, it would have been a massive. I feel like it would have been like a massive surprise. We would have been like,
It would have been a
like,
huge upset, wouldn't it?
yeah, it would have. But I thought, like, for routines, I thought Samson's routine was really good, posing really well. Had he just bounced around the stage, hitting most musculars and going
But
to
it's
the different
still,
parts of the
it's
crowd,
still
like, I'm hyped up. But he still put, it was a good show. And yeah, I feel like it was a good battle. Samson's potential's a joke. Like, again, he could be ridiculous, but then Haddy's just like, I almost think like the look that Haddy had 2 weeks ago, I almost think it's like almost unbeatable. Like, I struggle to see anybody beating him like when it comes to that sort of look. I know obviously he got beat by Derek at the Olympia, but we both said I feel like Derek probably would
yeah.
have got
But I
beat
think
if
Derek will
had
be
he.
better again. Derek is a joke.
Yeah, yeah, they are. So yeah, it was really, really good to see. Like, it was a very good battle. And then a little bit more boring to go back to third and fourth, but it was John De La Rosa in third and then Akeem fourth, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
No, it was the other
So
way
Akeem
around.
moved up. Oh
Akeem
no,
ended,
yeah, it was
Akeem
Akeem. Yeah, it
moved
was.
up 2 places from prejudging. Well, I think in prejudging he was between fourth and fifth, and James was
Yeah,
like fourth and fifth.
yeah,
Then Akeem got bumped up. Then they did this
yeah,
comparison, which was really cool. Um, I thought it should have been Akeem. I think just in terms of overall shape, and I think the back poses probably won it for him. Like his overall shape
yeah,
from the back was just a lot better. John was maybe a little bit harder through some areas, but like look at his shape. Like again,
yeah.
shape carries you a long way in bodybuilding, and his shape is just a lot better. Simple as that. He was good with Akeem.
Yeah, and
Akeem
his legs
was
are a bit
really
wider.
impressive, to be fair.
Yeah, legs a bit wider, like vastus lateralis, so out quad. And then also I thought John's like he posed, he didn't have his knees out, he had his knees facing forward. So he had the Finn Kelly crater thigh gap in between on the rear double and rear
Yeah,
lat. And if you I don't know if it will show it, but it could have been like I think if he had posed a bit better, I think it would have been a bit closer from the rear. But again, Akeem's just shape is really, really good. But if
yeah,
you watch when John goes into this, he has a bit of a thigh gap going on. It just makes his lower half look worse than what it is because
yeah.
his
It
lower
makes
half's really good, but
like
he just
doesn't angle his right leg out.
Right. Yeah. I feel like posing wise, John could have been a little bit better from the rear, just like say like knee position. I saw Daniel Coffee 3, the guy that's commented there,
Yeah.
second comment, used J3U's posing coach, and he actually did a reel about it, which was quite cool to see. So I would actually recommend, if you want to see some posing tips, follow that dude, because he does some quite informative,
He is
like short
pretty
form
good.
content, but it's actually
But
short form
he's
content.
good, but I also think it's just very basic, like which is sound
Oh,
because
it's very
he
yeah.
may, but it also, but that's good, like because posing shouldn't be overly complicated. You know, like
Oh
posing coach
mate,
now,
you
like
imagine
all
like
about flow. He just literally chats about like how to actually just not fuck up your posing.
yeah, and I feel like the third place or fourth place, like a first call out at Arnold UK Classic, a guy should not be posing with his knees facing forward, like on a
He
rear double. Like,
shouldn't have a gap.
yeah, yeah, like that's a bit stupid. Like, especially when he's got like ridiculous legs to it
Even
anyway.
his
Again,
trunks,
because his
like
legs are falling
his
down.
trunks aren't
Yeah.
level as well. Like
Yeah, there's just certain things where you look at and you think, like, again, if it happens at the top level, it's gonna be happening all down the amateur ranks. So, like, if you're getting into bodybuilding and you've got a prep and you're a first timer, give them a follow. They'll probably help you. This again, you're not probably going to learn anything new, but it will definitely give you a bit of an idea to be like, oh, I probably should probably maybe listen to that and maybe do that. So, yeah, it was a good
I
comparison.
thought,
And
I thought this was in person, like it did look a bit closer than this, but like even then, like I was sat next to Sanaya and she was like, "Oh, I like that guy on the right," and I was like, "Yeah, he's good, he's very good," but I was like, "But I think Akeem wins like all day long." Like I didn't think it was really that close. You know, they compared him a couple of times, didn't they? And I was like, I don't actually think it's that close.
yeah,
And like
you've got
looking
like
now,
the
it doesn't look that close.
we've got like the A level version of like Courage versus Christian Chapman, haven't we? Here, so
Yeah.
like the absolute prestige level of both of them. This is the top tier genetic
This
versions of
is
both. Well, to be fair,
give courage some
absolute,
time.
absolute.
Give
Yeah,
courage.
Courage will be way better
Courage is good.
than Courage will be saying, Courage will be like literally this guy's big bro soon. Like he'll be saying, mate, we don't need to worry about you, my
It's good.
man. Which is easy to say. So yeah, and then unfortunately, I don't think Christian's going to be getting to John's level, but you never know. I mean, he's coached by Tim now, so all those length and partials, he'll be sound.
Yeah, pretty perfect. And it would
We love
peak
you,
absolutely perfectly.
yeah, we love you, Christian. So don't get offended. We say it in goodwill. So that's that. So yeah, that's the basically the open lineup. Obviously, we spoke about like everyone else who finished where they did. Opinions, conclusion. Were you happy with the pro show, mate? Did you enjoy your night?
Yeah, it was a lot better than the expo, wasn't it? Like it was actually, I think the show was really well ran. It was put on really well. It didn't take the piss. Like we went in end of 2022 and it just took ages. Like we didn't get out till like gone 11, I think. And this time I think it finished like just after 9. And I'm sure it started at 7 last time as well. There definitely were less competitors this time, but yeah, it was really good. Like we said, didn't we? Like it finished and we were like, oh, like it's done. Like sound like that was really good. Like whereas last time we were like, come on, like I'm ready to go now. Like stop dragging it out. And then obviously Ronnie came on at the end, which was the reason that we were actually there to see our idol. So that was good. But yeah, like this is ridiculous stuff.
Yeah. He's a joke, isn't he? Like really, really good. So yeah,
But that shows you, Antoine was so bad
yeah, like in comparison.
again, like that. Like again, he's
Crazy, isn't it? There's a
composed.
there's a photo of Haddy and John hitting the most muscular together, and like, mate, it's honestly, it looks literally just like a complete.
That
That look at that. I honestly, again, John probably is a better bodybuilder than maybe I'll ever be. I don't know. Give me a few years, probably. Like, I look at that and I honestly would stop bodybuilding. Like, I almost would be looking at that, going, look at his legs in comparison to mine. Like, what
Yeah,
am
but
I not
Haddy
doing?
just looks like a
Like,
statue, doesn't he? Like he literally just looks like a statue. Like that is ridiculous.
yeah. It is mental. Like he doesn't look he looks photoshopped. He looks like he's been placed there in comparison.
It is scary.
Yeah, crazy. So
Right,
yeah,
wrap
very,
it
very
up.
good show. Really, really good. Like thoroughly recommend if you're thinking about it next time in the same lineup and it's the same quality, sound go for it. We obviously can't guarantee that, but it was a very good weekend and a very good day. Bar the expo being a bit naff, but that's probably just because of our opinions and stuff like that. You might have really enjoyed it if you guys went. If anyone has gone, let us know. Tag us in stories. Give us your opinion on stories. Basically, give us some engagement. That'd be fantastic. And obviously, more show reviews are going to be coming soon. Finn, anything you want to leave us with?
No, just obviously people watching, let us know if you like this format. Would you prefer us to do it in the studio? Is the audio okay? It's probably better than the ones in the studio because that always messes up. But yeah, let us know if you liked it. Tag us in your stories.
Yeah, like maybe,
What we will look to
I was
do,
gonna say, do you want?
huh?
I was gonna say, like, if people might want it to be quicker, like content wise, like, do you want more depth? Do you want us to break it down? Like anything that you guys want to know. Like, if you wanted us, we could easily split it up and do classic and do a 50-minute episode. We could do potentially
Yeah.
men's physique and do a 10-minute episode. Let us know. Like, you guys are the creators. I've definitely copied that from SDS,
You
but
know,
genuinely,
what I think will be good though, like because so many other channels do this for the big shows, but not many or any do it for the smaller shows. Like no one's doing this for PCA shows, UK FBA shows, WMBF shows. Like fair enough, people are going to do it for the Olympia, for the Arnolds, etc. But I think that's when we'll maybe break it down even more. Whereas these, it can be like, yeah, this happened, this was cool. Like, but you've got loads of other channels that do that. But I think when it comes to like the more UK amateur shows, ones that we're actually going to be at in person, we'll obviously have like even more to say, which I think will be pretty cool. But yeah, let us know if you prefer like 10, 20-minute episodes or an hour episodes.
cool. Right. That's it, guys. Hope everyone enjoys. We'll see you guys probably in the studio soon. So yeah, bye bye. Catch you later.